Welcome back. It's Friday, last day of the, well, most people's working week. I'll be in here a fair bit on the weekend, I think. I am working on the drag car and have been sort of flat out this week. Haven't really done any filming whatsoever. Just finishing literally the last brake line right now. Then I've got to mount the fluid reservoir to feed the master cylinders, and then I'll crack all the bleeders off and let that do a bit of gravity bleeding. We had the boys from TuneCorp, Shannon and Braden were here measuring up the wiring harness and getting everything organised for the full Motec system that's going in that car. And Braden reckons that he's going to have that thing wired before Christmas, so I'm not sure what the date is today, but I think we're coming up to the end of the first week in December. Hey, if he can do it, let's go, you know, we'll try. So this is what I say, you know, when it's so good being able to build cars here now and be so efficient. Like, you know, I need a hose end right now, bang, you know, there it is. There is, I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars worth of hose fittings and hose in stock here, let alone, you know, all the other accessories and everything that we keep. There's there's stuff everywhere. But this didn't happen overnight, you know, and I don't really know how to describe it. I think, you know, there's people that want to see you have success, and then there's other people that, you know, are put off by any form of success. And to be straight up and dead set honest, I wouldn't call this success yet. You know, we've got to a level, but, you know, I've got a mortgage, I've got bills to pay. This is not like, you know, hey, we'll do this for a year or two and retire. It's going to take a long time, you know, to get the most out of how we've set this shop up. My wife Sue and I, it's just, you know, it's sacrifice and bulk hours, like huge hours. And yep, I've got some toys that I build for myself and all the rest of it, but that's Saturdays, Sundays, nights, early mornings. I mean, what's the time now? I've been at work for about an hour and it's just gone 7 AM, you know, and I've been an hour into the drag car already. So yeah, it certainly doesn't come easy. But anyway, enough of that. Let's have a look at the drag car. So really productive week this week. We've got all the Lexan in the front windows, the side windows, engine bays all plumbed out, full of fluids, ready to start. Side windows, doors, door handles, all the fiberglass doors working as they should. What else have we got going on? So all the sheet metal's installed. It's very dusty, needs a really good wipe down, just typical fabrication shop. It'll get a polish and a detail before it goes out. Rear Lexan in, fuel cells, fuel lines. You know, there's a lot of car here now. We really are nearly there. So yeah, like I said, I just got one more end to put on a brake line right now, and then I've got to move inside, mount the. You like my temporary steering wheel. Got to move inside and plumb the masters. I'll mount a reservoir up there on the dash, so it's easy to get to. I had to make a nice shorty little dipstick for the Turbo 400. It's very dark in here, black on black, but got the gas pedal all mounted, all set up. You won't be able to see much at all, that pedal cradle, but that pedal cradle's fully adjustable. Actually worked out really well. Built that all here. I put this plate on top of the tail shaft guard to mount the shifter off of, but I'm going to put the seat in, that way I can set up the driver's steering wheel position, weld that in once that's probably trimmed back to position, and then I'll mount the shifter once Tyson's been here. We've got the braces in the front window area just to stop the Lexan sort of getting pushed in at speed. Yeah. What else have we got going on? I might as well have a quick look at this. So we've got some panels in the booth. For no other reason, I'm not working on them in here, but just keeping them out of the way and keeping them safe. So that fender there, that's just been colour sanded and polished, which is the first time I've ever done anything like that. It'll still need a little bit of correction here and there by someone that is actually a pro, but I'm doing my best to get it up to a fairly high standard, and then that truck will go to a detailer's once it's all together, and you know, they'll hopefully take it through to where it needs to be. But considering I've never done anything like that before in my life, like the only thing I've ever polished you know, with a machine is fuel tanks and wheels on semis and stuff like that. So this idea of, you know, taking a panel that you've just painted, sanding the hell out of it, and then through 3 stages of polish, to be honest, was bloody scary. And once I'd sanded the first one sort of from 1500 to 3000 to 5000, you know, like it actually looks like you've just trashed it, because although it's flat, it's you know, it's dull, and then it takes the polish process to, you know, to bring that clear right back up to, you know, like a mirror finish again. But I've had heaps of advice from Punk and Jaden that I refer to a fair bit. Product advice, what to buy, what pads to use, in what order, you know, what you should expect to see as the process is, you know, unfolding. Without that, it wouldn't have happened, or maybe it would have happened, you know, with a lot of damage done and some hard lessons learned. But honestly, it went fairly smoothly. I did get one rub through on a corner that wasn't really going to be seen on one of those fenders, but I took that as an opportunity to spot in some base coat and clear on that section and do a repair, knowing that if the repair was terrible, you weren't really going to see it anyway. But it came up fine. The only thing I have to do is go back now and hit that with 3000, 5000, and then polish it, and hopefully I can get that to match the rest of the fender flawlessly, and then we know that I can do that again in the future, you know, the next time I burn through somewhere on, you know, whatever car, because it does just happen. You can tape all the edges and all the rest of it, but probably the other thing is too, is mastering, you know, coverage in the paint process to make sure that everything is consistent right across the panel, and you can do the same level of cutting, you know, no matter where it is on the panel. And of course, once again, that's going to come with time and a lot of practice. This is my first respray, you know, bumper to bumper with clear over base. Never worked with it before, so, you know, there's a hell of a lot to learn. But anyway, time's ticking on. I'm going to crank right into this drag car, and then you guys and myself will do a lot more tomorrow on the Saturday when, you know, I'm not on the clock. So hang in there. Good morning. It's the next day, Saturday morning. Got the cylinder head back yesterday for the big F350, so literally just got everything cleaned up and bolted that on. Let's check it out. So as usual, West Coast Cylinder Heads, Dave and Michael did an amazing job of reconditioning a cylinder head for this Ford F350. It's got the 306. We've set that all up for unleaded now, so it's got hardened seats and new valves, and yeah, should be good to go. So I reckon that'll take up a big heap of the issues with this truck. Dave was saying the valve guides were that worn, you could pretty much fit 2 valve stems in there, so they've all been what do you call it, K-lined or inserted. So that should cut down on some oil consumption. I think between that and that rear main seal, this engine should be really good for a really long time, especially now set up for unleaded. So no matter what we do with the truck, whether we keep it or sell it or whatever, you know, it's going to be a good thing. So back into it. Welcome back, everyone. So it's Tuesday today. Had a pretty big day on a classic Holden Ute yesterday. Running a really hot 383 Chevy. Just came in for some tune-up sort of jobs and just have a bit of an overview and sort of what we need to tidy up on that car going forward to turn it into a nice reliable streeter. But today is a new day and we've got a 1956 Ford F100 in the shop. This is an ex-New Zealand car. This car means a hell of a lot to the family. Unfortunately, they lost their dad, and he was the builder of this truck, and he built a pretty cool truck. I'm not sure when. By the styling, I'm thinking maybe the 90s or early 2000s, but let's have a bit of a look around, a bit of a dig in. So this is the truck I'm talking about, 1956 F100. So first things first, I've never seen this vehicle before at all. So today is really just have a good look around everything. Started this morning by giving it a quick wash. It's been sitting a long time and a lot of dust and a lot of bird mess on it. So cleaned it up and then sort of headed into the engine bay. As soon as I moved it, I noticed that the brakes were rock hard and you can hear a huge vacuum leak from that booster. So this truck's got a HJ to WB front end grafted into it, which has actually been done really well. But unfortunately the booster's shot. So I'll see if we can get a core to send away and rebuild so that we don't have to disable the truck. A few little things like point style distributor, that's got to be changed out. It's had new spark plugs and leads put in, so we'll change that coil out today, re-gap the spark plugs, clean them up to suit the electronic ignition, and I believe they said they had the carburetor reconditioned, but there's a lot of dodgy looking vacuum plugs, incorrect fuel lines, just things like that. So today is all about digging in, seeing what we're up against. I want to start by getting a really good running and driving truck, and then we'll dig into all the things that we need for Australian engineering to get this thing plated and on the road here in West Australia. So yeah, let's just get into it and see what the day brings us. But very cool truck, very cool truck. It's got a really badass look about it, especially black. I mean, everyone knows I like a black truck. Let's try and get back a little bit from it so we can fit it all in. There we are. It's a cool thing. G'day again. Well, you're joining me, I think almost 2 weeks after that last video. So that was a massive week that just went past. Did a whole heap of work on a 56 F100. Long story short, guy by the name of Ivan sadly passed away a year ago, and he was a car builder all his life, and he's got a pretty cool car collection, and his daughter's going through and resurrecting his builds and getting them back on the road, which is really cool. I'll put some photos up, but yeah, basically, you know, everything you can imagine, you know, from a vehicle that sits for a long time, brakes and wheel cylinders and boosters and fuel lines and power steering lines and all kinds of things. So I'll put up a few photos and that now, and a few walk around videos sort of that truck. I had no time to film during that. I only had the car for 4 days. I thought I could, you know, get it ready to get on the road, and we did. We achieved it, but it was a mad thrash, and just happy to be a part of it. And that brings me to where we are now. So Saturday, back working on the Chevy truck. Just got the inside of one door to paint this morning, and that finishes all the hanging panels. And I'm about halfway through the colour sanding and polishing process, and everything's going sweet. So I think I've got one more week of work, like official work, maybe two, I'm not sure. And then I've got 2 weeks off, which I'm going to tackle the cab and probably get the sleeper cab and everything into prime at the same stage. So let's have a look. So just got the door in the booth there, masked up, wiped down and ready to go. And we're just mixing up a little bit of primer here now. I'll do 2 really light sealer coats. It's got a lot of rub throughs and a lot of exposed stuff, a lot of exposed fillers and things like that. The doors on this truck were really, really rough. And then we'll just do Valspar Direct Gloss black over the top of that. And that'll be sweet. Anyway, I'll get in the booth and knock that out, and then we'll have a look at the next job. So that's our 2 sealer coats down on the inside of that door. Just really, really thin, laid on real quick. And finally got that laying down nice and flat now, doing this whole bloody sealer wet on wet deal. Thanks to a lot of good advice from my brother Jaden. So just mixing up some Valspar Direct Gloss Black now. I love this product. I don't know, seems really easy to use and really easy to get super flat, super glossy results. So just mixing that up. That's 4 parts paint, 1 part hardener, 10% reducer. Pumping that out of a 1.3 tip at 40 psi. I find that works really well for me and lays down nice and flat. So got about, what do we got? About 24 minutes. Let's let that sealer sort of flash off for about 30 minutes, and then we'll go in, do 2 to 3 coats of gloss black. We'll just see sort of how it's looking as it comes up. So while that sealer coat's flashing off in there, just sort of dug the next job out. So I've got a bumper off a WB 1-tonner that we've been doing some custom work on, and we've had it sandblasted, and now I've got to weld up, I don't know, about 40 holes in the bumper. We want to get rid of the rubber strip we're going to smooth out the bumper and literally just leave the bumper bolts behind. Probably if we were going one step further, potentially could have even done some studs off the back of the bumper and made the whole front of the bumper completely smooth. But I think we'll just sandblast and paint the bumper bolts. They're a nice round bolt anyway. It'll blend in, look really nice. Just not sure that welding the studs on would give us quite the adjustability that we need to get it nice and straight and true when it goes back on the car. The car's definitely had a hit at some stage, and the body gaps and everything lined up pretty nice, but we did have to fight it fairly well to get it lined up before we pulled it off. So I think welded studs might just be one step too far, but as I start welding everything up, I'll make a decision, because the idea of a fully smooth bumper does sound a lot better. Alright, leave it with me. That's the bumper. You can see the 9 billion factory holes that I'm about to weld up. Loves to weld on a 37-degree day too. Favourite. Well, it's been about another probably hour and a half. Finished welding up all the holes in that bumper. Metal finished them down to 80 grit, and I've literally just deoxidized the bare metal, thrown it in the booth, put 2 coats of Epitech epoxy on the underside. Just going to let that flash off, harden up a little bit. Just got the booth cooking now. Turn the bumper over and put a couple of coats of Epitech epoxy across the top of the bumper, and that'll be the basis for our, body work and things like that, to get that bumper nice and straight. It's got a couple of whoopsies in it, and it's getting pretty warm on a Saturday here. I'm supposed to get 37 today. After a 60-hour week, I'm kind of feeling it. So might wrap this up now, do a little bit of a pan around in the booth once the next couple of coats are on that bumper, and then we'll hit the road. Welcome back. Well, I'm on Christmas holidays. So what are we doing? We're in the workshop. I've been planning this for about a year, so we are masked up in the booth with the Chevy truck. 3 years has come down to today, so all the panels are done, most of them are cut and buffed and polished. So getting the cab done now is like the last step before we can start reassembling this thing and making it look like a truck again. So I'm pretty excited. Let's go in and have a look. Today's going to be a good day. So we've got the truck all masked up. It's been wiped down about 2 or 3 times. I'm just going to give it one more tack cloth right before I spray down a coat of sealer. Let's get this done. So that's our sealer coat down. So we're ready to start 4 coats of base coat. Then we'll follow that up with 3 coats of clear. Haven't seen anything that sort of made me worry. Everything laid down really well. Mix her up and keep going. So I just got the second base coat down. Everything's going pretty good, but I did have to swap guns. When I was cleaning my water gun, I don't know, last week I think that was, I actually dropped the tip and didn't see it, but just noticed it was spitting a little bit on trigger release, and checked it right, it cleaned it up, checked it right out, and yeah, I've damaged the bloody tip. So lucky I've got a brand new DeVilbiss gun there, so just quickly set that up and we'll have to run with that for the rest of this, which actually does a really good job anyway, so it's not really going to be that big a deal. But yeah, it spat like a little droplet right on the A-pillar on the driver's side. So I let it set up and just gave it a little Scotch-Brite and a tack cloth, and that's pretty much vanished now. I think the next 2 coats of base will get that to, you know, pretty much be buried, and we'll just move on, but we'll go and have a look. So that's the second base coat there. It's pretty tricky climbing ladders both sides and laying on the floor, and yeah, it's definitely testing me. But it's happening.